I see bloggers using these old Pinterest strategies all the time, and they are hurting your Pinterest growth. So these are 5 strategies that you need to stop using on Pinterest immediately. The first strategy is group boards. If you're not aware, group boards used to be the best way to get your pins seen by the most amount of people. Bloggers would make a group board, invite tons of other bloggers, and all of the rules on these group boards were pretty much the same. You were allowed to pin a certain amount of pins to that board as long as you pinned a certain amount of pins of other bloggers from that board. And Pinterest didn't intend for group boards to be used this way. They were meant for friends and family and colleagues to be able to collaborate on group projects together, like wedding planning or a work project. So when they found out bloggers were using group boards this way, they now consider group boards spammy. Which if you use a group board for their intended purpose, like planning for a wedding, it doesn't matter if you use them, but if you are trying to drive traffic off of Pinterest using a group board from your business account, then you want to stop using them immediately. On top of that, repinning is also another strategy that no longer works on Pinterest. What used to work is you could pin 10 to 15 different pins a day. Some bloggers even got up to 20 to 25 pins a day, and they would be a mix of your pins and repins from other bloggers. This strategy just isn't helpful, and honestly, it never has been, because pinning other pins from bloggers will not help you drive traffic, so it's really just a waste of time. Me personally, I pin 100% of my own content, unless you are a new account or you could have created a new board. So if you are a brand new account and you don't have enough pins to fill up a bunch of boards yet, or if you create a new board and you need to get some content on there, then it is okay to pin a few pins from other bloggers, because it takes about 10 to 15 pins on a board for Pinterest to really understand what it's about. So if you can find high quality, relevant pins to pin to your new board or your new account, then I would say it is okay. But once you start getting enough content out there, stop pinning other people's pins. And this also goes for your own content as well. Pinterest has come out and said that repins of your own content is not as prioritized as fresh content. Pinterest wants fresh pins to be put on their platform. So if you are constantly feeding the algorithm the exact same pins, the exact same designs, eventually it's going to get bored of sharing your content out there, and it is just going to stop sharing it altogether. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Isn't that what Pinterest is for? Just to repin others' content? And yes, that is true. But that is true for regular users of the site. Us as content creators on the site, we are supposed to give the regular users content to repin. Everybody else, if you are using it for a personal account or something like that, it is totally fine to repin. But if you are a content creator, it is better to just not repin and create a whole new pin for your blog posts. Speaking of repinning, another strategy that doesn't work anymore is using Tailwind. Not only because repinning is no longer useful, but also because of Tailwind tribes, or Tailwind communities I think they're called now, along with their smart loop feature that they have. Joining a Tailwind community is essentially like joining a group board on Pinterest. And I don't really find these useful anymore because nobody really follows the repinning rules. But on top of that, with group boards now considered spammy and repinning not really being useful anymore, these are even more useless than they were before. The Tailwind Smart Loop feature is another feature that I never really used. And if you've never had Tailwind, essentially what the Smart Loop feature is, you can put pins on a Smart Loop and they will repin at a specific time. So the way that Tailwind describes it being used is, let's say you want to put out some Christmas content every year. You can put some Christmas pins into the Smart Loop feature and then set a specific time of when you want those pins to start going out throughout the year. And then they can go out automatically at the beginning of the Christmas season. But from what we have previously discussed, you can see why this would be no longer useful, considering repinning your pins is no longer useful. You're better off just manually pinning to your account. And if you want to learn about my manual pinning strategy, you can check it out right here or down below in the description if you're interested. The next tip isn't really a strategy, it's more just something that I noticed is getting harder and harder to do, and that is to get your pins ranked in search. This used to be a viable strategy, and it still kind of is, but Pinterest is making it harder to do. You used to be able to find tons of keywords for your account super easily. If you looked up a search term, you would see a ton of bubbles at the top of the page that had other keywords in them, and you can use those across the entirety of your account. But sadly, Pinterest got rid of this feature, so it is a lot more difficult to see what people are searching up on Pinterest. I noticed that pins also don't rank for as long as they used to, and this is likely because Pinterest is trying to push out fresh content. So if you look up multiple times throughout a month or the year, best tips for losing weight over 50, and you see the same 10 pins, that doesn't really follow their fresh pin strategy because it's the same pins ranking in search, and that will get boring. But this doesn't exactly have to be a bad thing either. This could mean that you have a better potential to get your pins ranked in the search, because if they are constantly swapping out the top ranked pins for new pins, this gives everyone a better opportunity to rank in those top 10 as opposed to the same pins ranking for years and years. As much as I hate to say it, Pinterest is no longer a search engine. It's trying to be more like a social media site. You can tell this is the goal by the way they've taken out a lot of the search terms. They've added a shop tab to their website and created story pins, or idea pins as they're now known. With idea pins, you can't link out to any other sites. And they've made video pins harder for users to click through to your website. And this is because Pinterest is trying to keep users on their site for longer as opposed to clicking on a pin and going to another site, which is a smart business decision in terms of Pinterest, but it sucks for bloggers who use Pinterest as a majority of their traffic drivers to their websites. They're also trying to push commenting on pins a lot harder, and they've added reactions to pins, which I think is just the dumbest feature, but it is on par with all of the other social media sites who have likes and reacts and different things like that on their platform, meaning that we can really tell that Pinterest is trying to become more like a social media site. If you are using any of these old Pinterest strategies, I highly recommend that you stop using them because they could be hurting your Pinterest account. And make sure that you look out for changes on the platform so that you can continually grow your Pinterest account. And if you're interested in checking out more on this topic, like why I no longer use Tailwind, check out this video right here, or check out one of my other videos right here. Make sure to like if you liked and subscribe to my channel down below for more videos just like this. And I'll see you next week. Bye!